Hello, everybody. We are the Geeks and Degenerates. I am Enzo, and this is my forever co-host John. And as I said in the Spider-Verse video, we are jumping to another universe, to the universe of Laika and Kubo and the Two Strings. They before Kubo, they did Coraline, and I was terrified of that as a kid. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to revisit childhood trauma right now, so I'll just watch Kubo.
Did they do Paranorman?
No, I don't think so.
It's just another stop motion studio.
Yeah. How did you get introduced to this movie?
Sadly, I wasn't able to watch it in theaters. I don't think it was in theaters here.
It was for
I'm
a
not.
short bit, but in limited
Yeah,
stuff. It was only in
no,
SM Aura. You're like, oh, cool. I have to
yeah.
travel far.
Here's the thing when it comes to stop motion animation. We got a couple of good ones. Like, for example, Kubo and the Two Strings, Coraline, Paranorman, and the new Pinocchio movie.
Yeah,
And we did a review on that if you guys want to check that out. Um, but the thing is, people kind of got the whole standard when it comes to animation. They either want 3D or 2D,
yeah,
never stop motion. And it kind of sucks because the marketing for this one wasn't that big because nobody really talks about stop motion animation, which is such a shame because the process of stop motion animation is so fun.
yeah,
For sure, if you do it as a job, I can tell that it could be tedious. But when I see the process of them doing it and the outcome of it, it just looks great. It looks fun, and you can tell the hard work's there. And I love that the love and care for making a still. Was this a model move so smoothly when it comes to stop motion animation? So it's a little bit of a shame that I didn't even hear about. I'm a fan of stop motion animation. Jurassic Park was supposed to be a stop motion animation.
yeah,
It's live action to stop motion, and I'm a big fan of that. And knowing the fact that I didn't hear about this when it came out is such a shame.
yeah,
Hopefully, in the future, stop motion animation will get a little bit more love, because it is such a beautiful. It was pretty big in the '90s when it came to the Jack Skellington thing, like Nightmare Before
yeah.
Christmas, uh, the other things. But yeah. But back to the question, I didn't really hear about this until it was shown on HBO or Star Movies.
Mm,
Those don't exist anymore.
yeah. I mean, HBO exists as an app or a streaming service now. Uh,
Well, it's HBO still around, but nobody watches cable anymore.
yeah. Um, I heard this one through Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns just singing its
Mm.
praises, and I was like, I should check it out. And it was on Netflix, so I was like, oh, cool, perfect timing. And then, like you, I was like, why isn't this more talked about? Because it is pretty star-studded. It has Charlize Theron, Matthew McConaughey, Rooney Mara, and Ralph Fiennes. And you're like, that's a pretty cool cast. And you're like, again, why doesn't it get enough attention? Because it's one, animation, two, stop motion, and that's underrated. Of I don't want to watch something that's animated and stop motion. Like, why? It's a good story.
Yeah,
And
it is such a shame because when you hear somebody go, "Oh, it's just a cartoon," and then and what I liked about this, we're skipping a little bit ahead, but at the end credits, they show the process.
yeah,
And I was like, well, how can you dismiss the process like this? Or any animation where, 3D, 2D, or stop motion.
yeah,
How can you dismiss something like that when the process is so
beautiful.
wow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I,
Again, hard work and stuff like that. But, hey,
yeah. For me, it wasn't just the animation too. It was also the story and what it was really about. That memories are the most powerful kind of magic, and when it hits you, you're like, oh, I can relate to that. I definitely can
mm,
relate to that. And it's always had a special place in my heart for movies, because it's something so. It might be in a distant kingdom, but it's something so relatable, and you're like, yeah, I agree with the thought of memories being so precious that it's kind of is like magic. Like if you're having a bad day, you think back and you're like, oh, suddenly my day's not so bad after all, because I remember this one thing. Unlike the kid, Art Parkinson, I think his name was, as Kubo, it's pretty good for like, I think this is his first role, and this is directed by Travis Knight, who later goes on to direct Bumblebee. And like, I can't wait to see what he does next. But like, the story is pretty interesting. That the Moon King, Kubo's grandfather, took one of his eyes, and his mom saved him. But like, throughout most of the day, she's just catatonic. But like at night, she comes alive and tells him these stories. And like, the village is filled with other small celebrities too. Like, I'm sure you noticed George Takei.
George Takei he's like in the
in
the back. When he goes, oh my! I'm like, wait, there he is.
Yeah, and like the other villagers, like eager to answer the question, is the actor for forgot the actor's name, but he's Shang Tsung in Mortal Kombat. Your soul is mine. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And like, the rules are that he's not supposed to go out at night because that's when his grandfather is going to come after him with his mom's sisters. And you're like, alright, I understand the stakes now, but he stays out one night too long because he's trying to get in touch with his father's spirit. And you're like, at the beginning, you're like, it's only the beginning and I'm already feeling things. God damn it, like, why?
That's one thing this movie was really good at. Like, it was tugging at your heartstrings, no pun intended, really well. When it came to him, just like, I want to know more about my dad. My mom's mostly catatonic until these few moments in the night. It's kind of heartbreaking. Okay, not kind of. It's really heartbreaking to see he would drop a story. Like the villagers have been complaining, like, hey, you don't finish your stories. The reason why is because that around the time when he does about to finish, there's a time when his mom wakes up.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to miss a single moment because she is bleeding.
Yeah. And like, your heart kind of sinks just like when the sisters do come for him and like she sacrifices her life. You're like, this is a kid's movie, right? She's gonna come back somehow, and she kind of does, but not in the normal form of like a human being. And you're like, oh, it's this kind of movie. Okay, it's just animated. Cool. And then you get introduced to Monkey, and then he's like, oh shit, you were a toy, and I called you Mr. Monkey. And Monkey's like, you know, if I was alive, I would find that insulting, but I'm gonna let it go. Poor Kubo and Monkey are trapped in this frozen hellscape with just mini Hanzo to guide them. And then Monkey is very strict of like, you need to eat this whale soup because you need energy. And Kubo's like, why? It smells hideous.
It's horrible.
It smells yucky. It's like, everything in this fucking cave smells yucky. Why are you bitching? It's like, I'm sorry. And like, you see that it's a typical like strict mom. And then Hanzo the beetle is the what do you call that?
Very lax dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, wait, have they met Hanzo at this point, right?
Yeah, like after the whale thing, they're like, Kubo gets taken by the beetle, and Monkey's about to like dead ass shank him, and you're like, oh, it's Matthew McConaughey beetle.
Yeah. I was about to say, Matthew McConaughey and Charlize Theron, we mostly see them in live action movies.
Yeah.
Holy fucking shit, they can voice act.
Right?
I'm like, I didn't know, like, I couldn't see it as Matthew McConaughey.
Right.
I just saw a very great voice actor.
Yeah. Same with Charlize Theron. Like, I don't think they did any voice acting until then. Which again, it's weird because like, you're like, how come this movie didn't do so well then? Because it's two really good actors.
Also, the chemistry between Beetle and Monkey is so fucking good. It does feel like... It feels like an old couple reuniting again.
Yeah.
Even though they don't know each other, like, they don't know they're a couple yet. Like, they don't know that's my husband, that's my wife kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that.
And like, we get to the big skeleton monster, which is the stop motion at the end of the credits. You're like, Jesus Christ, that's incredible.
This is my favorite part. Like, it is straight up a Sekiro fucking villain or boss. where
Yeah.
he has the samurai swords on its head. Oh, such a good design.
Yeah. And then like Beetle has the sword and it's like I don't know if I can do this and Monkey's like for fuck's sake and then she slashes the ankle. It's like oh, it broke. The sword unbreakable broke. What do we do now?
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. You gotta pick and choose which one on his head. Like you gotta, like
Yeah.
you just see him start breaking it on top of its fucking head.
And you see
Again-
how well it moves. You're like, Jesus Christ, this is incredible to see.
And when you think, hey, oh, it's just a stop motion puppet.
Yeah.
This thing is bigger than a person. Like
Yeah.
when you see it, like at the end credits, it's like around like 8 feet tall, and that's just the torso. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. And then they do kill the skeleton thing by just removing the sword, and then you see they start growing more as like this adopted family for Kubo, and like when he builds the boat and they're like eating like sashimi, and he's like, I've never had a meal between two people like this before, and you're like, oh, poor Kubo.
Yeah.
But at least he's having this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. And like you see Hanzo being a dad, teaching him how to fish with a bow and arrow.
Yeah. And then like the Hanzo thing points down during the storm to signal like, oh, the armor's down there, but it's surrounded by ice. And then Beetle's like, I got this, I'll be right back. And then after a while they're like, he's taking too long. Kubo's like, I'll do it. And Monkey's like, what? Okay, I'll join you. And
yeah,
then
right.
she gets snatched by Rooney Mara's character, which is pretty creepy, honestly. Like the first time I saw her, I was like, what the fuck is that supposed to be? Why is she so scary?
By the way, like if y'all got phobia of the water, stop motion does it really well.
Yes.
Like making the ocean really scary. I'm like, I'm very uncomfortable.
And that's Monkey is like fighting his sister. You see Beetle just come out like, I got it. And it's just a fish, and she's like, ah, what the fuck? Kubo's down there.
It was a fish from a while ago that they couldn't pull in because they didn't put a rope on the fucking arrow.
And then Kubo's just drowning because of the eye he's looking at. And Beetle's like, all right, Kubo, and then he rescues him. And like as the sister and Monkey keep fighting, they're like, oh, the love my sister had for Hanzo made her weak. And then Monkey's, nah, it made me strong. And you're like, made me strong? Oh shit, are you the mom?
Yeah, it was a hint. So it was like, it was the mom.
Yeah.
Well, like if you don't notice it, I mean, Charlize Theron does a really good job of like separating the human mom from the monkey mom. Like with the human mom, since we only got like a short time with her, all we got was like her being the storyteller, very kind, very sweet kind of mom.
Yeah.
When it came to Monkey, she was the strict, stern,
Yeah.
watch yourself kind of mom. And which made us really like, oh, I didn't notice that was the same voice actors because it was completely
Different
like two
characters.
complete, yeah,
And then
or two sides of a parent.
Yeah. Ever since then, you're like, I can't wait to see what other voice acting gigs Charlize Theron has next. And you're like, I'm still waiting. Because she's...
I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
Please do one in like Spider-Verse or something. I don't know.
right? You can be like a female Captain America. Or like or Tony Stark. Who
Yeah.
knows?
But she's already a character in
In-
Strange.
Oh, right. But then, all of the other characters in Spider-Verse are already characters in the MCU. So she should be fine.
All right. Forgot.
Yeah,
Hey,
Haley's...
I forgot.
Yeah, Haley's fucking Cape Bishop, so they should be fine with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they make it on board, and like as their bond grows, like Kubo has a dream of the Night King, and you're like, that sounds like Ralph Fiennes. And you're like, it
Yeah.
is Ralph Fiennes.
Also, kind of creepy. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, hearing his more, I don't know, Americanized accent, you're like, I'm not used to this. Why?
Yeah.
And then they go to where they think the helmet is, but they discover it's a trap, and they're captured by the other sister. And she's like, your love for each other, this is the reason why you fell out of heaven, because of him. And they're like, because of the beetle. It's like, how do you not know that all this time the beetle is Hanzo?
He was very flirty with the monkey too, just like
Yeah.
like before they found out. Like on the boat, he was very flirty with her. So I was like,
He's also kind of really dumb, like, too, when, like, she's telling the story of, like, oh, Hanzo said 4 words that changed my life forever. He's like, I love you, monkey.
I love you, monkey. So fucking good.
But then when you discover it's Hanzo and you see how Hanzo became Beetle, you're like, it all makes sense now. That's why he can't remember shit. That's why he's in the swarm, because they're like, oh, since you took our sister from us, we're gonna beat the shit out of you and make you into a Beetle. Like, oh, that's dark.
Yep. And we get a solid fucking fight scene with Monkey, the sister, and a little bit of Beetle.
Yeah.
Like, surprisingly enough, the samurai doesn't do a lot of fighting.
Right? With, like, swords.
But hey, Matthew McConaughey still kind of carries with his voice acting.
Yeah. But Monkey is, like, fatally wounded, and, like, they're all hovering above her to see what can we do, and then he gets stabbed. Hanzo gets stabbed, and you're like, oh shit, how is this going to turn out?
Dude, I was so shocked because I really thought it was gonna go the kids route where they're like, we're family, sure, one's a beetle, the other one's a monkey, and the other one's a human child, but we're family, we're gonna do this together. Nope. Probably a quarter of the way through, they kill both of the parents right in front of Kubo, and I'm like, this is not a kid's movie.
Monkeys in half, you're like, why?
Yeah. And like poor Kubo just like has to just deal with it and then like flies off to the village that got attacked like earlier on.
And then finds the helmet and calls out his grandfather. And then his grandfather's like, you could join me, be like me. Why do you want to be so mortal? It's like, I already took everything from you. Just join me, dude. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
It'll be a dishonor to my mom and father's memory, and I want to be here because memories are precious. And the guy's like, oh, how mortal. And then becomes this fucking snake thing. You're like, Jesus Christ, again, how is this movie going to end? They already established it's not really a kid's movie. They're not in that sense. So what do we do now?
And like he uses like, oh, the sword and the armor is not really working. I'll just use the shamisen that they gave.
Before that, like, you mentioned this is like Sekiro. It's like Sekiro with a big ass snake. And you're like, how the fuck do I fight that thing? And you don't.
right, like you hide in like a little like hut.
Yeah.
And then you just stab once it gets close enough.
Exactly.
But like it was a solid fight scene, and then he finds out like I think earlier on like his strings broke when he tried to his sister, and like he uses the hair of his mother, the bowstring of his father, and his hair, thus making the shamisen complete. I will say a little bit of a lackluster ending. Yes, memories are important. I get the message that they're trying to portray, but it's just it's pretty much I have the MacGuffin thing to stop it all with just one hit, like the Guardians of the Galaxy's first movie where they have the stone in their hand, and I'm not a fan of that. Sadly, I'm not. But yeah, he kind of finishes off the boss with that one move, and he becomes normal, becomes this old man who's mortal, and I do like the message here where they're like, Kubo could have killed him right on that spot, but he was like, all the villagers were like, nah, you were one of the nicest people in the village, you were so kind, you're this kind of person, and thus kind of like forgiving him for what he has done and just move on.
Yeah. Then there's like, you know what? He became an angry snake thing once. Let's not do that again. You're nice. You're a nice old man. Please don't kill us.
Yeah. And sorry, for me, it was kind of like, that was abrupt.
Yeah. Though there is one like gut punch of like Kubo being like, yeah, life is nice, but I still need you, mom and dad. Still need guidance, but you know what? I'll try to make it on my own. You're like, fuck. This is a standalone movie too. So what now? What happens to Kubo? We hope for the best. I like since it's like an open-ended ending. You're like, maybe he has a fulfilling life after this. I just dies
Yes.
peacefully. No other big adventures or worries after this. Who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, it's they tied it off with a nice bow. Sadly, I will say, I wish the ending kind of went a different direction. Don't know which direction, so I can't, you know, complain that much.
Yeah.
But all in all, it is a good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good and like again one of the more underrated movies, animated movies at least. Like I don't know, I forget when it came out in 2016 that everybody's like, "Oh, there's other movies that we can watch instead of this really good animated movie."
Yeah, no, for sure there was some other blockbuster movies that was coming out. I think Age of Ultron was coming out around that year. Um,
Yeah,
I
probably.
think Black Panther was there too.
No, Black Panther's 2018. This came out 2016. So maybe Civil War was coming out at the time.
Maybe like some other blockbuster feature films that were like, we'll prioritize this over this one.
Yeah.
Which understand again.
All that being said, what would you rate Kubo and the Two Strings?
It's an almost a near perfect movie in my opinion. Short, sweet, and it didn't really delve into backstory. More of just like us journey and like it's more on the journey kind of deal. We didn't get that much backstory when it came to the mother and the father. You just felt they had history through the voice acting. Voice acting, top-notch voice acting from Charlize Theron, Matthew McConaughey, and Ralph Fiennes, and the kid that for Art something.
Art Parkinson.
Art Parkinson. They all did an amazing job. Storytelling was there. I liked it. Animation was chef's kiss. Sadly, as I said before, ending I wish went a different direction. Don't know what direction. Just kind of was rushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little too rushed. Kind of a cop out ending when it comes to like one move, problem solve. Not a fan. But other than that, said animation great, voice acting great. The story is fucking great. It's just the end. So I'm gonna give this one probably an 8 out of 10. It could have been a 9 if the ending was different, but it's an 8 out of 10 for me.
Well, I'll give it a 9 because I don't know. I really enjoyed the story. Good voice acting, as you said, great animation, and pretty good story too. Like, just the fact that it did a type of animation that no one really does anymore. Like, I'll give it more props to it because like it is a bold choice of being like, oh, we're not only animated but we're stop motion animation. So hopefully get money in the box office, and sadly it didn't. But I'm sure it's made back its money through like streaming and Blu-ray sales. So there's that. And again, the cast is like top notch of like George the guy from Mortal Kombat, Ralph Fiennes, Charlize Theron, Matthew McConaughey, and it's all around a pretty good movie that should have won something at least, but I just don't know. I forgot what won for 2016. Probably like a lame, not lame, but like some small or big Disney animation probably. No, I think it was Zootopia. It was Zootopia.
Zootopia.
Yeah.
I get it. Fine. Zootopia was nice.
Yeah. But yeah, that's been our video for Kubo and the Two Strings. What do you guys think? What's your favorite stop motion animated movie? Whether that's Pinocchio of last year or The Nightmare Before Christmas. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
All right. I was afraid to be crucified by the internet. Anyway, if you want to see us, because I thought I was going to say the opposite thing. But yeah, if you want to see more of us, please like, subscribe, and ding the bell icon to get notified of when we upload next. We're also on Spotify and TikTok to see your best and funniest moments. Spotify to hear us on the go. Individually, you can find me at Gandalfus1995 on Twitter. How about you?
Oh, you can find me at JohnGeoM on Instagram. Sadly, I am dying from my allergies.
Yeah,
but yeah, you can find me on Instagram, whatever.
Yes, it's the time of year. And as Drummer's dying, we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.
Yeah.